And so we've got a couple of our daughters that are in a courtship, and actually one is engaged now. And so I'm going to ask Jessa and Jill to come up here. And then also while they're coming up, I want to say there's quite a bit of difference between marrying off one of your sons and marrying off your daughters. Because I think with your son, it's kind of like you're bringing in a daughter-in-law into your family, but when you're actually allowing a guy to possibly marry one of your daughters, your protective mode is kicked in, and you're really evaluating. I think you evaluate actually a son-in-law a lot more than you do maybe even daughter-in-laws.
It's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a really good day. It's Tuesday, January 4th. So when I was taking my little bit of a break, there was a lot of stuff that we didn't cover. We covered it very briefly in a live stream like last week, but I wanted to touch on this a little bit more in detail because I was thinking about how a new docu-series was announced by Amazon related to the Duggars, and there was some questions from some of you guys like, who would speak out? Can the kids be a part of it? Will the Duggars be involved in it? And sort of the logistics of what it would include. And I did some research to find out, who could potentially talk in this if they are bound by contracts and what things would look like for that. So they made the announcement, they put this out. It's supposed to come out on Prime Video next year or like late 2022 or early 2023. And the log line that was released by Variety says, on the heels of Josh Duggar's explosive criminal trial, the Untitled Project will expose shocking connections between some of the reality television's most famous large families and the Institute in Basic Life Principles, a controversial fundamentalist organization and homeschooling empire. In addition, prominent commentators, writers, and social media voices will explore the broader zeitgeist of reality television, social media, faith, fundamentalism, patriarchy, and power. The film's investigation into the Institute in Basic Life Principles will focus on other people like the Plaths of Welcome to Plathville and the Bates of Up TV's Bringing Up Bates. So the people, and then the cool thing about this is it's being put together by the creators of Lula Rich. So we've known for a long time the Duggars are connected to the IBLP. We've known for a long time the Bates are connected to the IBLP. The Plaths are not involved in the IBLP, but the Plaths are part of a quiverful world, and a lot of the overlapping rules of the IBLP are things that they follow. So that could be the angle for why they're looking at the Plaths. There's other family members, there's other families, large families that have been on TLC. I don't know if the Willis family was actually a part of the IBLP. I don't think they were. But it'll be a dive into all of these different constructs. Now, we've talked on this channel quite a bit about the reality television aspect, the IBLP connection, and all the different facets and the moving parts that are involved with the Duggars, the IBLP, and all the different players. But one thing that you guys wanted to know about was, will Jim Bob and Michelle be a part of this, and can the kids be a part of this?
Most of your children have done things that you don't know about yet. And I want to tell you something. As long as you don't know, Satan is given a power and authority over that child. There's a certain authority that they cannot break as long as they don't tell you.
So TLC canceled the show. Okay, so TLC, when Josh Duggar was arrested, it was in April, and I believe they announced the cancellation like in June or July. And after the cancellation, I believe they have contracts. So the thing about the Duggars is that they could still have an NDA with TLC, and it could be contingent upon that they not speak X amount of months after the show is over. Some have non-compete clauses where they can't actually go on or sign other projects. for X amount of time. Now, I don't know the specifics about TLC, but The Sun did an article back in July saying that they wouldn't be able to get out of these contracts, or they didn't expire until 2022. Now, 6 months after a show is over seems really slim to me, to be honest. I know that there have been teen moms, like Janelle Evans, for instance, with MTV, where the non-compete was like for 2 years after. So I don't know if it's 6 months or if it's 2 years. Theoretically, though, that could mean that some of the people, if they are in a non-disclosure, would maybe not be able to speak out or even do an interview without the approval of TLC, or with fear of breaking that contract. I don't know how much TLC is going to be holding them to the NDAs at this point, being that they've removed the show from their network. It's not on their website. It's still on Discovery Plus, but it's completely gone from TLC at this point, and TLC is all but done with. Knowing that the NDAs could effectively be in place, that could prevent them from participating. Now, do we know anyone that doesn't have an NDA? Yes. Jill and Derek could participate in this because they don't have NDAs. I don't know if they will, but they could, because there's nothing binding them from preventing it. Now, even if Jim Bob and Michelle could do this, I don't know if they will, you guys. I was trying to think about this really hard on whether or not they would actually sit down for this. And I have a feeling that they won't. That's just my gut. The producers might be able to work their magic. You never know. I mean, these are the same people that got Deanne and Mark Stidham to sit down for Lula Rich. So maybe Jim Bob's that much of a narcissist. You don't know. But if they did sit down, it would have to be without an NDA from the network. So Jim Bob really likes to control the narrative, and being the way that they've described it as a commentary on reality television and fundamentalism and all these other factors and the extremism and Josh, the idea that Jim Bob and Michelle would put themselves in a position where they would actually speak to opposing people who, by the way, I would believe they would look at this as a liberal left agenda. They might not want to be involved in it, because Jim Bob and Michelle live in this world where they believe that everyone is attacking them, not because of what they've done with their family or what Josh has done to the family or what Jim Bob has done to the family. They believe it's just because the liberal elite or the liberal left are going after them and trying to silence them. So Amazon, historically being a kind of a left-leaning company, I don't know. I don't know that they would want to be involved. I have to remind you guys that the last interview they did publicly with a major outlet was Fox News. So if Fox News was putting this together, maybe they would do it, but I don't know. He's so skeptical and he's so worried about the way he's perceived. So I don't know. The thing that you guys were worried about was whether or not anyone could get paid on this. So I did some research as well, and I was looking around and I found that some industry standards in documentaries show that most people for documentaries are not paid for their work. As a rule, documentaries don't make a lot of money. And as a rule, for a documentarian filmmaker to keep things objective and non-biased, they generally will not pay anyone to be involved in the documentary. That doesn't mean that stipends can't be paid or like travel can't happen and they might pay for a flight. But in regards to actually someone sitting down and being paid for an interview, that would be completely outside of the standard for the industry. So if you're concerned that the Duggars would make any money sharing their story on a docu-series like this, the answer would likely be no. No, you won't expect to see the Duggars paid if they were to participate. So if you were concerned that it would be another avenue for them to profit off of, that would be no. So with that being said, they're not going to make money. It's a left-leaning company. I don't think Jim Bob and Michelle will be a part of it. So knowing that the Duggars can't profit off of this, and that's something that they really want to be able to do because they love to profit, I just can't see them being involved in this. But if it happens, stranger things have happened. Okay, so the docu-series will start next year, and I think, you know, for a lot of you, maybe it'll be amazing. I'm really looking forward to it. Anything that gives further exposure to the IBLP, to the narrative about reality television being toxic for children, to the lack of restrictions and rules for Duggar or for kids. in filming, on reality shows. There's so many different angles that you could take with this, and I will be so interested to see how it all plays out and when it comes out. On the heels of that, the contracts are also preventing the Duggars from doing other reality work, and I'm not sure if any of them would actually take a reality show at this point, and I don't know that the Duggar name has much of a market value in the market for reality television. But it hasn't stopped some of the kids from sharing on their Instagrams, and I noticed that Jason Duggar, who was the most vocal of the boys apparently after the verdict, being that he shared the sentiment that his brother was a hypocrite, and that, you know, everything was, in regards to the verdict, it was the right thing to do, and that he reshared just Ginger and Jeremy's post. So Jason actually today posted a Instagram that had rock music in it, and I was like dying. Do you guys know anything about the IBLP and rock music? Okay, so Bill Gothard thinks that evil spirits are part of rock music, and that the evil spirits that are in rock music will cause people to rebel and cause teens to rebel. He also believes that it can cause people to have mental illness and to be out of their mind. Like he describes in the basic seminars how people end up in hospitals because they can't take care of themselves due to their mental health, and then all they do is get rid of rock music and everything is fine.
I want to ask you some things. Do you have any rock music in your home? Yeah, they had that. The father said, I try to keep my sons from bringing it in, but they keep bringing it in. I said, do you have any kind of foreign gods, statues? I said, go home and have a bonfire, burn up all these things, get rid of them. And they did. That afternoon they went home, they got all these things together, and books and magazines that were filthy and things. They gathered them together, they burned them. You know what happened? When those flames licked up and burned those items, that 14-year-old boy snapped out of his insanity. They had them all, though. Here is this Christian family, growing up in the church, worship the Lord every week, even have Bible reading in the home, and so on. But they have these things there. I said, look, would you do a favor just to yourselves, regardless of what this may do to your brother and the parent's son? Just go home and cleanse your home.
I mean, you know that didn't happen, but in his mind it did. So the fact that Jason shared a video with rock music, which again, I can't play for copyright, I was like impressed. So again, Jason's companies are very intertwined with the Duggars, and the idea that he's going to fully break free from his father, I highly doubt it. But it's good to see in some ways that some of the kids are taking some steps of independence. That doesn't mean that they're not still under the thumb of Jim Bob. But the fact that he shared rock music, I was like, somewhere Bill Gothard is somewhere over the rainbow, and he is just like, well, he's still alive, you guys. But Bill Gothard is probably screaming, and Jim Bob's probably screaming too. I mean, let's be honest. So Jason is sharing this. And then finally, Josh Duggar apparently didn't get to have Christmas with anyone. So you guys were wondering about his Christmas, and it was in solitary. Well, he's not in solitary. He's actually in, what do you call it? He's in protective custody. He was not able to participate in any of the detention center's festivities, and he had to eat alone in his cell because he's in lockdown 23 hours a day. So Josh Duggar had a miserable Christmas, and somewhere, you guys can take solace in the fact that he was not harming children on Christmas, wasn't around any of the Duggar kids, wasn't there to bother any of the Duggar kids, was fully away from the world. So good on that. All right, so what do you think about who might speak out? Will they be bound by a contract? What do you think about Jason and whether or not he's playing rock music? And then what do you think about Jim Bob and Michelle? Do you think they'll participate, or do you think they'll be like, it's the liberal left, they're out to get us? Tell me in the comments below. Bye, guys.